Hello everyone. For the 3 people who end up watching this video, I welcome you. This is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast. And this is my spoiler-free review of Ip Man 3, which is technically a 2015 film, because that's when it was released in its home country. Now it does get an official US cinema release tomorrow, January 22nd, but it did roll out in some theaters tonight, a day early. Today's Thursday. Now, where I live, we do not get many Asian films released in cinemas, but as luck would have it, Ip Man 3 got a release nearby, so of course I checked it out. So the plot of Ip Man 3 goes like this. When a band of brutal gangsters, led by a crooked property developer played by Mike Tyson, attempt to strong-arm a children's school into selling its property, Master Ip is forced to take a stand. Now, the bad guy who gobbles up real estate angle has been done quite a bit in the past, but this film is deceptively dramatic because it also focuses a lot on Master Ip's relationship with his wife. And I'm happy to say that it is very successful at adding some dramatic weight that you wouldn't necessarily expect going into it. Now, Ip Man 2 had a weaker script than the first film in this particular trilogy, but it more than compensated with its action. Ip Man 3 balances the action and the drama much better, which is more of a throwback to the first film in this trilogy. And I would say that Ip Man 3 might actually be the best overall film in this franchise. Now, the acting is actually quite good in this too. And trust me, I love watching Donnie Yen even when he overacts, and he has overacted in the past at times. But he's so perfectly cast for this role that his performances are legitimately impressive. He's really good in this. The one thing I noticed, however, is that this movie does not have as many supporting actors that were recognizable to me. So the first Ip Man film, well, I shouldn't say the first Ip Man film, because the character of Ip Man has been a character in films in the past, but the Ip Man film from 2008 had Simon Yam, who is one of my favorite actors of all time, Siu Wong Fan, who previously played the legendary Ricky O, for goodness sakes, and Hiroyuki Ikuchi, who has shown up in various Japanese films like Charisma and Space Travelers. Ip Man 2 from 2010 added Sammo Hung into the mix. Now, we don't get those kinds of recognizable faces in Ip Man 3, but it doesn't matter, because Jin Zhang is awesome in this. Now, if you've seen the Tony Jaa Woo Jing film, SPL2 A Time for Consequences, you'll notice that Jin Zhang also played the final villain in that movie. Now, this guy has got the chops, both in terms of martial arts ability and screen presence, to headline action movies in the future. So I hope to see more of him in the future. And he gets a lot of screen time in this movie, and I'm glad that he did. Also, his character is the grayest of the bunch in terms of morals. So that kind of makes him the most interesting character here. And of course, we have Mike Tyson, who shows up in 4 or so scenes. But I was impressed by some of the phrases that Tyson used. I won't tell you exactly what's going on there, but you'll know when it happens. I liked it where they went with some of his phrases. He's not a good actor, but he's definitely entertaining in this. So what about the fighting? I mean, everybody cares about the fighting more than anything else, usually in these martial arts movies. Well, we get a lot of it. And it is of a great variety as well. But it is somewhat backloaded towards the second half of the film. There are many smaller, shorter fights that are peppered in, though, throughout. Now, from what I remember, the first 2 big fights are one versus many extravaganzas. So you'll have one or a few characters fighting against a lot of bad guys. After that, we get 3 one-on-one matches, one of which is in a very enclosed space. Now, all 5 of these big fights are really good, and they are on par with the previous films in the franchise. Now, 2 of the one-on-one fights are between characters with very different fighting styles, which makes it very interesting to watch, even for hardcore fans in martial arts. There's some cool stuff to see here. And I'll tell you this, even the Mike Tyson fight was surprisingly good. I mean, you exit this movie with a greater respect for Mike Tyson. This is good stuff. It's a good flick. I highly recommend this film. And if you haven't seen the first 2 Ip Man movies with Donnie Yen, you can still watch Ip Man 3 and not get lost at all. But you should definitely watch Ip Man 1 and 2 as well, because they are highly entertaining films. Now, there's also a few more Ip Man films over the past handful of years that do not have Donnie Yen in them, but one of them, which is titled The Legend is Born, Ip Man, from 2010, is sweet. So check that one out too. Just have an Ip Man marathon, for goodness sakes. So I gotta say though, it was great seeing Donnie Yen on the big screen again, because that does not happen often for me. So those are my brief thoughts on Ip Man 3. Make sure you go see it. And as always, we'll see you next time.